All right, welcome everyone. Today from Nexus, we're going to tackle Chapter 12, Defining Big Data Analytics. We're really going to get into the nitty-gritty of how organizations take this just massive amount of raw data and turn it into something with real, tangible value. And hey, for all you CS students out there, this is where the rubber meets the road. We're talking about how these concepts you're learning actually get applied in the wild. So let's just jump right in. Okay, so here's the game plan. We are going to climb something called the analytics value pyramid. Think of it like this. We'll start with this whole gold rush for data, then work our way up through 4 distinct levels of analytics, starting with the basics, going all the way up to monetized analytics. And then we'll wrap up with a dose of reality, a look at the challenges you're actually going to face out there. So to kick things off, let's think about something you've probably used today, Amazon. You know that recommendation engine? That thing is a prime example of big data analytics in action. It's constantly looking at your entire history. I mean, everything you've bought, everything you've even glanced at, and it even looks at what people similar to you have bought. And it uses all of that to spit out suggestions that, let's be honest, are creepily accurate sometimes. That is the power we're talking about here. And that right there leads us to what people are calling the analytics gold rush. I mean, companies are waking up and realizing they are sitting on a literal gold mine of data. But here's the catch. Just like in a real gold mine, the actual gold, the valuable insight, is just a tiny, tiny fraction of all that raw rock and dirt. The real challenge, and honestly the big opportunity, is figuring out how to get that gold out. So how do you do it? How do you extract that value? Well, you climb this, the analytics value pyramid. It's a really useful framework with 4 levels. And the idea is each step you take up this pyramid, you're getting more sophisticated and you're generating more and more business value. We start at the bottom with just some basic exploration, and we climb all the way to the top, where analytics are literally making the company money. So let's start at the foundation, right at the bottom. All right, first up, level 1, basic analytics. You got to think of this as the absolute bedrock, the foundation of the whole thing. Before you can even dream of building something complex, you got to roll up your sleeves and just start digging around in your data to see what in the world you're even working with. And the main activity here is something we call slicing and dicing. I love that term. What's cool about it is that it's all about changing your perspective. You're taking this huge, intimidating data set and you're breaking it down into smaller, more manageable chunks so you can look at it from all these different angles, view it along different dimensions, just to get a feel for its basic shape and structure. And here's the key takeaway for this level. This stage isn't really about answering questions. It's about finding the right questions to ask in the first place, right? Imagine you're handed petabytes of raw sensor data from some scientific experiment. You have no idea what you're even looking for yet, so you just start exploring. You might plot temperature versus salinity, or maybe pressure against time. You're just wandering through the landscape of your data, looking for anything interesting, anything that might be worth a closer look. Okay, so once we've explored the landscape, it's time to climb. Let's move up to level 2, advanced analytics. This is where things get really exciting. We're shifting from just looking at what happened in the past to actively trying to predict what's going to happen in the future. The core technique we use here is data mining, and it's exactly what it sounds like. We're sifting through these mountains of data, but we're not just looking anymore. We're hunting for hidden, meaningful patterns. And when you're data mining, you're usually trying to accomplish one of 2 main goals. And those 2 goals are classification and prediction. Let's break that down. Classification is all about sorting stuff into known groups, or buckets. Think of it like this. You look at your past data and figure out who did respond to a marketing promotion versus who didn't. 2 buckets, responded and didn't respond. Prediction, on the other hand, is about forecasting a future number. So using that same data, can you predict who will respond to the next promotion? See the difference? It's subtle, but it's a really powerful distinction. Let's make this super concrete with a classic example. Imagine you're a telecom company and you're bleeding customers. You want to stop them from leaving. Okay, step 1, you gather all the data you can on your past customers. How long they were with you, what they spent, if they call support a lot. Step 2, you label every single one of them with a final outcome. Did they stay or did they leave? That's your target. Step 3, you feed all of that labeled data into a classification model and tell it, go find the patterns that the flight risks, the people who left, have in common. And then the final step, the payoff. You take that trained model and run it on your current customer base to get a ranked list of who's most likely to bail next. And now you can actually do something about it before they leave. And that right there is the perfect segue to level 3, operationalized analytics. This is the crucial step where those amazing insights stop being a fancy report that sits on someone's desk and start becoming a living, breathing, automated part of the business. So the big idea here is that the model we just talked about, the one predicting who's going to leave the telecom company, it doesn't just stay on a data scientist laptop. No way. It gets embedded, baked right into the company's operational systems. It's often totally invisible to the end user, but it's in there, making automated decisions in real time. Here's a fantastic real-world example, an insurance fraud detector. So, statisticians build a model that's trained to predict the likelihood that any given insurance claim is fraudulent. Then, that model gets plugged directly into the company's claims processing system. Now, when a new claim comes in, bam, the model scores it instantly. If that score is above a certain threshold, it gets automatically flagged and sent over to a human for a closer look. The system is doing the tireless, heavy lifting 24/7. And now we've made it. We're at the peak of the pyramid, monetized analytics. This is the holy grail. This is where analytics isn't just a support function for the business, it is the business. It's a direct line to making money. To really get this, let's talk about Orbitz. At one point, they were handling over 1 million searches every single day. Just think about that. It's an incredible fire hose of data, telling them exactly what travelers are looking for. And they figured out a really simple but powerful formula was at play. Every single search is a data point. More data means you get a much sharper understanding of what your customers want. And if you understand what they want, you can show them better options, in this case, hotels, which leads directly to more people clicking book. And more bookings means, well, more revenue. Now they had a problem. Storing and crunching all of that weblog data was just way too expensive with the tools they had. So what did they do? They brought in the big guns. They implemented a big data solution using Hadoop and Hive. This unlocked their ability to analyze everything. They could finally see which specific hotels were leading to the most bookings for certain types of searches. And once they knew that, they could feature those winning hotels more prominently. The result? A direct, measurable increase in conversions and revenue. That is monetized analytics in a nutshell. So it sounds pretty straightforward, right? Just climb the pyramid and you'll be swimming in revenue. But as future data scientists and engineers, I'm sure you already suspect it's never quite that easy, is it? And that brings us to our final section, which is a bit of a reality check. Because the road up that pyramid, well, it's filled with some pretty gnarly challenges. You hear the term big data thrown around all the time, but people often forget to mention the dark side. First off, it's almost always dirty data. It's messy, full of errors, incomplete, you name it. Then there's the signal-to-noise ratio. That truly useful bit of information, the signal, might be a tiny, tiny fraction buried in a massive ocean of useless noise. And if that wasn't hard enough, trying to do all this on data that's streaming in real time, yeah, that just cranks the difficulty up to 11. But look, despite all those challenges, this analytics value pyramid is still an incredibly powerful model. Why? Because it gives us a clear path, a structured way to think about what we're trying to do. It takes us all the way from just poking around in our data, to making predictions, to embedding those predictions into the business, and finally, to turning that data into real value. It's the roadmap from raw data to meaningful action. So where do we go from here? Well, next time, we're going to dive headfirst into one of those huge challenges we just talked about, unstructured data. We'll be exploring the fascinating world of text analytics and figuring out how we can unlock all the incredible value that's hiding in plain sight in things like documents, emails, and social media posts. You won't want to miss it. See you then.